Okay, I'm going to be using acoustic today because we're going to be talking about ear training. All right? So, all right, awesome. Look at this. We've already got people coming in. This is great. So thank you so much. Thank you for hanging out with me. This is going to be fun. Okay? We're going to be talking about all kinds of different things. We've got 4 sections of topics we're going to be discussing, some live sessions. So this first one here is going to be talking about ear training, as I just mentioned. So this is getting us ready for the Christmas guitar bundle to see if that might be something that you're interested in, all right? A little bit later, we'll have a video on that you'll be able to watch and see if it's something that you're interested in. So, hey, everybody, thank you so much for being here. This is great. We already have a ton of people in here, which is awesome, okay? So I hope you're doing great. I hope life is going good for you. I know at this time of year, sometimes it's not always the easiest thing, but I wish you the best, you and your family. And so let's go ahead and get started and have some fun here. So I'm playing acoustic on this thing because I'm going to be referencing some Christmas songs for our ear training. In each one of the live sessions that I do, I'm going to use some sort of reference of Christmas material, although please understand this isn't just about Christmas songs. You can use the information we talk about in anything. So what I want to do first off, before we get started here, is explain that when you're learning how to do ear training, I have some notes over here. When you're learning how to do ear training, it's always easiest if you start with something that sounds like it probably would be fairly straightforward. I could use the word simple, but that I don't know if that's right. Now, again, you might not know that because you might not know the song, right? You're trying to figure it out by ear. But the more you do this, the better you'll get at it. If it sounds like there's a lot of stuff going on and the chords are moving all over the place, then that might not be the right song. We don't know until we try, right? And the second thing is to try and do this to some song that you're familiar with, okay? Until you get good at this, it's always nice to start with something that's familiar to you. And again, sounds like it's fairly straightforward. Now, please understand, when we're talking about songs, often we're talking about a vocal part and a bass part and a drum part and a guitar part, and maybe there's piano and maybe there's saxophone, right? Who knows what there is? We don't need to get wrapped up in all of these instruments, because what we're trying to do, and this is the first part of this ear training, is we're going to start listening to the song from a structural standpoint, okay? So when you're trying to learn a song by ear, the first thing that you want to do is you want to pan out, okay, and listen to the song in a generalized kind of bird's eye view. You're way out there kind of listening to this song, and basically what you're listening for are sections, intro, verse, and then it goes into something other than the verse, and then maybe it goes back into the verse, and then maybe it goes into the chorus. Now you're not zooming in. It's not how many times do you do each one and how many measures. You're not doing that. You're just trying to overarchingly listen to the song, okay, from a bird's eye view, and just kind of get used to the general flow of the song, okay? And then what you can do, and again, we're not having to over study here. We're just trying to get used to that a little bit. And then what we might do is start zooming in a little bit and say, okay, what we're going to focus on is the verse, or we're going to focus on the intro, or we're going to focus on the chorus. And that's what we're going to do today. Okay, we're not worrying about the entire song at this point. Now, why is that? Well, the entire song requires us to ear train and study different segments. Now, we're not going to be here for 4 hours doing this. I don't want to take that much of your time, right? But what we are going to do is go into some part that you're familiar with, because that's why I'm using Christmas songs here, that you've heard before, and then try and figure out what would be going on in that part in terms of ear training. Now, the part you have to be careful with when it comes to things like Christmas songs, and we can call it really anything that would be considered to be traditional songs, is that they can be in different keys, right? And even the arrangement can be different. Like you might hear somebody play, Silent Night a certain way, and then you hear somebody else play it, and the arrangement, the chord changes even, can be a little bit different from artist to artist or song arrangement to song arrangement. So, and I don't want that to confuse you. The beauty of that for us is we'll play it the way it sounds, ear training, it sounds right to us. So as we talk about this, if you decide, hey, it sounds like there's another chord that should be in there, you're going to be able to explore that on your own and figure out whether or not the chord that you want should be there, what's missing there, and I'm going to help you with that, okay? So just keep that in mind. because again, when it comes to Christmas songs, oftentimes, I would look up chord charts on, Ultimate Guitar or whatever it might be, and I'm looking through it going, I don't hear it that way. Like, I don't hear all those chords that this thing is telling me that are in there. I don't hear it that way. Well, for me, if I don't hear it that way, I don't play it that way, right? Now, that's different than learning how to play, Crazy Train by Ozzy or something, where it really is a structured song that has a particular part and, particular chords that go certain places, and it's not in the key of whatever, it's in this key, right? That sort of thing. There are more, structured parameters to something like that. Doesn't mean that there isn't sometimes some leeway, again, depending on the artist and the style and all that sort of thing. But again, that's a whole nother conversation. All right, thank you so much. We have even more people that have come in. This is great. So let's go ahead and get started. So step number one, getting a song, let's just call this step number one, getting a song that sounds fairly straightforward and you are familiar with it. Whether you're familiar with the whole song really well or just the chorus or something, that's entirely up to you. And again, our Christmas songs, you're going to be familiar with these things. Step number two is listening to the structure, overarching or bird's eye view, way back, kind of getting used to that. So you kind of know how it goes. And the reason I say that is if I say, for instance, my first song here is Rudolph. I'm looking at it up on my screen here. So if I did Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer had a very shiny nose. Now, you might not know this, but this is what you want to be thinking about in this structure as we kind of zoom in. We're starting with a chord for Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer had a very shiny nose. And on nose is where there is a change. Now, how do I know that? Well, I know that because I've heard the song a million times and I've played it a million times. But if you're listening to the song, one thing you want to get used to as you keep zooming in is a change in the sound, a change in the music. Now, I'm not saying that that's easy, and I'm not sliding over that. That's what the study is all about. Like learning how to play via ear training takes some time. But you want to get used to that. When you're listening to the song, you're trying to listen to something that changes, and in our case, certainly a lift or a drop of that chord. Oftentimes the bass will go with us, right? We'll hear them both lift or hear them both drop, okay? And again, that's why the simpler the song, the better this is to try and practice with, okay? So if we start with that and think, okay, so Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer had a very shiny nose. Okay, so right there's a chord change. Then we stay on that, and if you ever saw it, you would even say it glows, right? And that's where it goes to something else. Now, here's the question. Does it go to something else? Does it go to a third chord, or does it go back to the original chord? You see, this is the structure element that you want to start trying to get used to thinking about. Okay? We don't know what key it is. You might, but don't say anything, obviously. We don't know what chords are in it. And again, key is irrelevant because this is a traditional song. It might be in the key of A for you. It might be in the key of C for you. It might be in the key of G for you. It all depends on if you're singing along, right? That can have a massive difference on what key you put this in. And of course, that then affects the chords. So the next thing I want to talk about, so we talked about choosing a song. We talked about the structure of the song, listening to it and then zooming in. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about, and then we'll get to the last one here, but the next thing I want to talk about is what we'll call chord theory connection. And I'm going to try and make this as easy as possible, but when we're dealing with traditional or simplistic songs, maybe they're not traditional songs, but simplistic songs, Knocking on Heaven's Door, whatever it might be. I mean, I could name you a million songs like that. Take It Easy by the Eagles, whatever. Not Dream Theater, right? Not Rush, right? Something that's simple. What we're often dealing with here are chords that are part of a family that we call a key. Now, if you don't know any theory, I'm going to give you just a little bit to kind of feed off of here. Very simplistic, and then again, in the Christmas guitar bundle, you'll be able to study more of this stuff if you're interested. But so when we say we're in the key of, let's say we're in the key of, let's just say A. Okay, so we're in the key of A. What we're saying is A is our main note. A major is our main chord. Because no matter what key we're in, the first chord's always going to be major unless we say we're in the key of B minor. Well, then our first chord would be minor, obviously. But if I say to you, oh, this song's in the key of G, or this song's in the key of D, or this song's in the key of A, the first chord, the key, is going to be major, right? So if I say, oh, this song's in the key of A, you already know the main note is A and the main chord is A major. The question is, what else are we going to use from the key? And this is a lot easier than you might think if you've never studied this before, okay? So all keys, and again, I'm not getting deep here, so stay with me because you can learn this, okay? All keys have 7 different notes or 7 different pitches, okay? So if we're in the key of A, we have A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Just like a piano, the white notes are A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. And guess what comes after G for a white note? A, all over again. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. A, B, C, D, F, G, over and over and over. There are only 7 different note names. A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. We don't have H or L or Q or W. Those don't exist in music. It's just A through G over and over and over. Okay? So when we do it over and over and over, we call those octaves. Like a piano, we go from A to A to A. Those are all octaves. Well, for us, we're not worried about octaves right now. We don't care about that. For us, an A chord, or an A chord, or an A chord, wherever we want to play A is A. Okay, A is A is A. That's what we want to think about. But here's what we need to think about. The next note in the key then would be B. And the next note would be C, and then D, and then E, and then F, and then G. Now, if you know anything about theory and you're thinking, well, what about sharps and flats? Let's not worry about that right now. Okay, that's something that you can study later. Let's keep this nice and simple so when you walk away from this live session, you're going to go, I know exactly what he was talking about. All right, so if we're in the key of A, all right, what we want to deal with is the first chord, which is A, major, the 4th chord, and the 5th chord to begin with. Those 3 chords, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A, B, C, D, E. So this is the theory that you need to know to try and figure this out. There's a couple different ways to approach music theory. But if you're listening to a song that's fairly simple, that you've heard many times, the chances of it using this information is pretty high. Now, if you're learning Slayer, no, this isn't going to work, right? If you're learning some death metal band, this is not going to work. But if you're learning something that is popular, this is something that we use all the time, whether it's pop music, country music, rock music, traditional music, worship music. It doesn't make any difference. This is just a very common thing that everybody uses because it's what we call ear candy. It sounds nice to the ear. So if we know that the song is in the key of A, what we can expect to see for other chords, not guaranteed, but what we can expect to see is possibly a D chord and an E chord, or one or the other. We don't know, okay? But at least that gives us, it narrows it down a bit to start trying to figure it out by ear versus every chord on the planet, right? We start with that. So A, D, and E. Now let's say we were in the key of G. So if we were in the key of G, and again, don't worry about sharps and flats right now. So if you're in the key of G, we'd have G and then A, right? Not H, because there's no such thing. So we're on G, so we're already at the end, so we have to start all over. So G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. There's our notes, G to G. So 1, 4, 5 in the key of G would be G, A, B, C, D. So what I'm doing right now is something that you want to get used to, okay? So G, C, and D, all right? So let's listen to those for a second. Let's go to G. I'm going to play G, C, D. Now think about how many times you've heard those 3 chords together, and if you've been playing for a while, chances are you've played many songs, and even maybe just throw something in the chat of a song that you've learned that uses those 3 chords, right? There's a billion of them. So that is what we call the most common chord progression used in music. Now, does it have to be in the key of G? No. Remember, we talked about A. So if we go to A and we play A, D, and E, I'm going to give it that same kind of rhythm. Okay, so musicians would call that a 1-4-5 chord progression. You can play them in any order you want, but that's what it is it's using the 1, the 4, the 5. Now, why would we say it that way? Okay, well, because if I say it that way, I'm not defining it in a key. I might tell you, hey, this song uses a 1-4-5. And then you say, oh, awesome. So-and-so is going to sing this, so let's do it in the key of D. Okay, what's a 1-4-5 in the key of D? D, E, F, G, A. D, G, A. 1-4-5. So for you to start learning to think about 1-4-5 is very important. Now, I'm going to make it even easier for you. Because we are guitar players, now there are an option, for the most part, of 12 different keys that we can play in. But as guitar players, you think about this, especially if you've been playing for a little while and you've done some songs, and even post it for us, even throw it in the chat. What are some keys that you find that people play in a lot? Right? Okay. What do you find? Key of G. That's correct. Key of A. Yep. Key of D. Key of E. Key of C, right? And out of all of those, for me, key of G and key of A and key of D maybe are the three that I see most. But, it might be a different experience for you. My point is, you don't see a lot of the key of E flat or the key of A flat. You just don't see that a lot. Now, it doesn't mean you'll never see it. Don't get me wrong. I'm talking in generals here. Okay? So yes, you're going to see that sometimes. But if you're just learning how to do this, or let's say you've just been, playing guitar for a little while and you find a song in the key of D flat, chances are maybe you probably don't want to play that song just yet, right? Again, don't set yourself up for failure when you're ever doing anything on this instrument. Start with something that fits in your comfort zone, your wheelhouse, and then start learning how to do it. Because right now our conversation isn't whether or not you can play a song that's complex. Our conversation is about whether or not you can learn how to play something by ear. And if you set yourself up with the right parameters, an easier song, slower song maybe, something that isn't super fast, something that you're familiar with, right, that sort of thing, it's going to make it a lot easier. Now, because these are traditional Christmas songs, they can be in any key. So let's make our way into Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, okay, using what we know right now. Okay, so I'm going to give you this much information. Rudolph, for us right now, is going to be in the key of G. All right? So, if you think about it, if you played Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer had a very shiny, what chord, because you can hear it, right, in your head, you can hear that something should be coming. What chord comes after that? Now, you could try every chord in the book and get out your chord encyclopedia, or you could use the information I just gave you to try and figure that out. So, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer had a very shiny... Right? Okay? Now, if you know what it is, start putting it in there. See, put it in the chat. Let's talk about this. Okay? Gotta wait a second. This latency just takes... Yes, right, D. Okay? So let's listen. Let's use our ear now. Just listen to me for a second. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer had a very shiny nose. Okay? Now, let me try the 4. G, A, B, C. Let me try that. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer had a very shiny nose. See? It doesn't sound right in my head because I know what this song sounds like. So I know I'm going from G to D, or a 1 to a 5, right? I can call it G to D and there's nothing wrong with that. But if I call it 1 to 5, that means if you and I are playing together and you say, hey, Steve, I love this song and we're going to play it together, but I need to sing it a little higher because G's too low for my voice. Well, then we could move to the key of A and we could play A, B, C, D, E, 1 to 5, A to E. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer had a very shiny nose. And now we've done what we call transposing. We've moved the key. That's another conversation, but look at the power that you can learn to have by ear training and by understanding some of this basic theory. Now, let's go back to the key of G. Wipe our palate clean in our head. So, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Let me get my rhythm right here. Here we go. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer had a very shiny nose. And if you ever saw it, you would even say it. What does it want to do? Right? Does it want to stay there? Does it want to go somewhere else? Where does it want to go? Right? Correct. It wants to go back to the 1, the G chord. That's what ear training is all about, is learning to train yourself to hear where it wants to go. And if you can make your success rate better by using logic, like basic theory, very basic theory. But if you can use that, it makes it easier. Now, that doesn't mean it always works. Sometimes you're going to have a chord that sits outside that, and you're going to have to look for that, okay? But this is a really great place to start, okay? Now, do me a favor. I'm going to show you this. We have a video for you to check out about this Christmas guitar bundle. I want you to see if it's something that you're interested in, and then as soon as you get done, come on back and we're going to keep going with this thing, all right? Today, you can click the Yes, I Want This Christmas Bundle button to get instant lifetime access to 6 brand new guitar courses on playing songs by ear, licks, soloing, jamming, and more that I'll reveal in the next few minutes of this video. So pay close attention to the message so you can see if it's right for you. Hi, I'm Steve Stine, and I want you to play your favorite songs without looking up tabs, or play solos that burn up the fretboard, that people will love because they sound great and look effortless, and ultimately have more fun playing guitar and have the confidence to jam with fellow musicians. Then keep watching this video, because you're about to discover a simple way to play songs by ear, massively increase your picking speed and accuracy, mix and match killer licks to create awe-inspiring solos across the fretboard, and play anything you want on guitar. But there's one big problem that's holding you back. It's something I've seen again and again in my 35 years of being a guitar teacher to hundreds of thousands of guitar players worldwide. That big problem is only having bits and pieces of the guitar playing puzzle figured out, and not seeing how everything fits together to be a complete, confident, well-rounded guitar player. In fact, you've probably felt frustrated and confused for years. Now, the good news is that it's not your fault, because you were never given a simple step-by-step plan of guitar courses to follow to see real, noticeable improvements in your guitar playing every day. That's why I created the Ultimate Christmas Bundle. The Ultimate Christmas Bundle gives you instant online access to 6 new guitar courses to skyrocket your guitar playing. You'll get Learn to Play Songs by Ear. As a guitar player, one thing you probably want is the complete freedom to play any song. In fact, you've probably already spent hours trying to figure out songs using YouTube videos or online guitar tabs, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I bet you've noticed that both of these waste a lot of your time. Not only that, sometimes they're just plain wrong, and then you end up frustrated and may even pick up some bad habits that will hold you back for years. Ultimately, you don't develop the skill to hear the music and figure it out quickly in your head, which is a skill that you really want to develop if you ever want to play with other musicians. But there's an easy way to get around all that. It's exactly what pro musicians use to learn songs in minutes, and the good news is that even a beginner can use this skill to figure out songs without having to look up any tabs. It's called ear training, and that's exactly what I'll show you in my new course, Learn to Play Songs by Ear. I'll show you simple ways to figure out the chord progressions to songs in minutes, because there's a big secret most guitar players never hear about. Thousands of popular songs in rock, pop, and blues use the same chord progression. It's called the 1-4-5. Don't believe me? Check out what Mark Knopfler from Dire Straits has to say.
When you learn your first chords and you're going... That's a very basic kind of... That's your 1 chord. And here's your 4 chord. And your 5 chord. The same chords in the B in a blues. It's the same chords, your 1 chord, and then the bit that when would be that. It'd be the same thing. So it's the same. It's really all the same music.
When you realize that you can cut the time it takes to learn new songs in half, it also works for solos. Imagine what it will feel like when you're hanging out playing music with your friends and someone says, "Hey, can you play this song?" And instead of freezing up, you say, "Give me 10 minutes." You'll quickly download it on your phone, listen to it, and within a few minutes you'll have the chord progression down. You go through it a couple of times on your own just to make sure you have the chord changes down. Then you say, "I got it, let's try it with everyone." With the skill of ear training, you can even watch another guitarist start playing and anticipate what will come next, because you'll already have learned the skills of common chord progressions and what to listen for. So the rhythm section starts things off and you launch into the chord progression. Your fingers are nailing each chord without any hesitation. Everyone's smiling and having a great time playing music together. And you even have a killer idea for a solo, but more on that later in this video. Now that skill alone is worth your entire investment in the Ultimate Christmas Bundle, but we're just getting started, because you'll get Picking Booster. You may not believe it, but your guitar pick is the biggest amplifier that there is. You can change the whole tone of a song or lick just by how hard or soft you pick it, without having to adjust the volume. That's why your picking technique is so important. You want to play clean and clear without tripping over your fingers or hitting dead notes. You want to learn to play fast solos for real and not fake your way through. That's why I've also included my new Picking Booster course to help you massively improve your picking speed and accuracy. I'll show you my best tips and tricks to build your finger strength, stamina, and most importantly, hand synchronization. So your left hand is hitting every note that your right hand is picking, which is something 98% of guitar players never get right. Now this will work for you even if you have weak hands or fingers, or you feel like you've tried everything. And it's a total game changer when you're learning solos by players like Eddie Van Halen or Kirk Hammett. It's also ultra impressive. But we're just getting started, because over my 30 years of playing and teaching guitar to hundreds of thousands of guitar players across the world, I've noticed another huge problem. Most guitar players don't really know how to solo. Sure, they might know a few scales and how to play them across the fretboard, but they have no idea how to play solos with feeling, like Eric Clapton explains in this video.
And for me, I just start singing. But I do it with the guitar. That's the groove, and it will be, that's just me singing, really. It's just really all it is a voice. You know, it's got nothing to do with technique at all. Experience maybe of, you know, having confidence in knowing that what you hear in your head you can do with your hand. But apart from that, it's not any cleverness at all, it's just feeling.
That's why you'll get my new course, Major Key Soloing. Now this soloing course is unlike any soloing courses that I've ever created, because it's entirely focused on creating solos that sound like you're singing in major keys. Now why is that important? Because most guitar players only learn to solo in minor keys like you hear in some classic rock and tons of blues songs. But here's the big problem with that. Spotify recently analyzed 30 million songs in their database and found that more than half of the songs are written in major keys. That means you're missing out on soloing over thousands of popular songs like Sweet Home Alabama by Lynyrd Skynyrd, Jessica by the Allman Brothers Band, Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd, and many, many more. Just like every other guitar player who just noodles around out there and doesn't put things together. I want more for you than that, and in Major Key Soloing, I've made soloing over major key songs easy. I'll take you by the hand using a hit song you'll instantly recognize and show you how to create a jaw-dropping major key solo over it. Best of all, this can be applied to any major key song you want to solo over. Now, with your new soloing skills, you're going to need some licks. So in the Ultimate Christmas Bundle, you'll also get my 21 Legato Licks course. Now, 21 Legato Licks builds on every previous course that I've talked about. You're already able to hear chord progressions and figure out songs in minutes with Learn Songs by Ear. Your picking speed and accuracy has skyrocketed with Picking Booster, and every note you play is coming out clean and clear. You're now soloing with complete confidence with major key soloing, and now you're ready to add some jaw-dropping licks to your arsenal. That's why I've also included 21 legato licks. Now these licks are the perfect complement to your guitar solos. They're not basic licks that every other guitar player knows. These are awe-inspiring licks that feel awesome to play and make anyone listening say, wow, what was that? I've broken each lick down step by step so you'll know exactly where to put your fingers and won't have to worry about hitting wrong notes. And you'll be able to mix and match them to play solos faster and better than you ever thought possible, which will make you a true lead guitar player who knows how to tell a story with your guitar solos. So everyone listening hangs on every note that you play. But I've taken everything a step further, because the truth is, there's no better way to continually improve your soloing than jamming. And while I was making this Ultimate Christmas Bundle, I thought, what better way to wire in everything to learn songs faster and play amazing solos than jamming with me personally? So I've included something I've never offered before. You'll get my new collection of interactive jams. Now, I recorded these interactive jams to simulate how to improve your rhythm and soloing in the real world. You'll get several jams in different styles where I show you how to play the chord progression. Now I know that might not sound exciting, but remember, 95% of the time, a guitar player is focused on rhythm. That's why it's part of the rhythm section. And once you know what's going on with the rhythm, you'll have the tools to create a plan for your solo. But that's where things get really cool with these interactive jams when it comes to soloing. I've recorded them so that you and I can trade licks back and forth. So you're improving your soloing and learning how to play with another musician, which improves your sense of rhythm, timing, and phrasing. So your solos sound like an extension of the song rather than a bunch of random notes strung together. And I'll be adding new interactive jams throughout the year, so you'll have an entire library of jams to improve your soloing for years to come. Finally, you get my Motivation Vault. Now these are short, focused guitar lessons with one golden nugget to improve your guitar playing in the shortest time possible. They cover specific topics like learning songs, picking, strumming, creating a practice routine, blues, and of course soloing. Think of them like a weekly dose of motivation to keep you progressing on your guitar journey. Now, they've never been offered for sale before, and you can only get them when you place your order today. You'll also get a progress tracker for each course and membership in our private Facebook community where thousands of members hang out and share their passion for guitar playing and encourage each other to contribute in a positive and encouraging way. Your Ultimate Christmas Bundle gives you lifetime access to learn to play songs by ear, Picking Booster, major key soloing, 21 legato licks, my interactive jams, and Motivation Vault, and has a total value of $414. But you won't even pay close to the retail value of $414 for the Ultimate Christmas Bundle. Not $300, not $150, not even half that. Your total investment today for the Ultimate Christmas Bundle is just 3 easy payments of $19.60. And if you want to save 20% today, you just select this one and done payment option when you check out. But you need to act fast because this is only available until the big timer hits 0 on this page. So click the Yes, I Want This Christmas Bundle button below to get the Ultimate Christmas Bundle now, and you're protected by my 30-day guarantee. Truly put your Ultimate Christmas Bundle to the test for a full 30 days and see if it's right for you. If you don't think it's a good fit, no big deal. Just contact our friendly support team and they'll issue you a full refund or exchange. No questions asked, no receipt required. However, I can only offer this price for a short time. Once the big timer hits 0, this page will be removed and you'll miss out. So click the button below to get the Ultimate Christmas Bundle today, which gives you lifetime access to 6 all-new courses. Learn to play songs by ear, Picking Booster, major key soloing, 21 legato licks, my interactive jams, and Motivation Vault before the big timer hits 0. And have a Merry Christmas. All right, welcome back. So let's keep going here. So we just did, let me find my pitch here. Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer had a very shiny nose, and if whoever saw it, he would even say it glows. All of the other reindeer. See how it just keeps going back and forth? That's the part of the song that I want you to learn, okay? Now, if you want to learn rest of this song, you certainly could, okay? And in order to do that, I'm going to give you one more little bit of information. I'm giving you a ton of stuff, and again, in the bundle, we go further into this stuff, but I want to give you this because I think this is so great. So if you understand the generalization that we're doing here, we talked about being in the key of whatever, and how the 1, the 4, and the 5 chords in that key make up the most popular chord progression in music history. They can be used in any order you want. It's not just 1 to 4 to 5 or something like that. Or maybe you're just using 1 to 4, or maybe you're just using 1 to 5. I mean, that's all entirely up to you. Songs can do all kinds of things. Right now, Rudolph is just using 1 to 5, okay? But I'm sure there's a 4 chord in there, right? At some point. So if that makes sense, okay, here's the other super cool part. Now again, maybe you don't know keys yet. You don't know sharps and flats. Don't worry about that. Don't stress about that yet. Here's the thing. We know that the key has 7 different notes. G, A, B, C, D, E, F. And then G all over again, right? The octave. So we have 7 different notes. We know that, or 7 different chords, I should say. It is 7 different notes, and each note gets a chord, so 7 different chords. So the 1, the 4, and the 5 are the major chords. They're always major. So if you're in the key of A, 1, 4, 5 is major. If you're in the key of D, 1, 4, 5 is major. If you're in the key of C, 1, 4, 5 is major. It just is, okay? It's a mathematical thing. Here's the cool part. 2, 3, and 6 are minor. 2, 3, and 6 are minor. So if you're in the key of G, 1, 4, 5 would be major, 2, 3, 6 would be minor. So we'd have G major, A minor, B minor, C major because it's a 4, D major because it's a 5, and then E minor. So here's what you remember, and then again, you keep learning this as you keep going, but if you're in a major key, which we are, the 1, 4, 5 is always major, the 2, 3, 6 is always minor, and the 7 is actually diminished, and we don't care about that right now because that's a whole other conversation, and we don't use it. We use 1, 4, 5 and 2, 3, 6 99% of the time. 99.9% of the time, okay? So don't worry about the 7th chord being diminished. That chord will be okay. Pat it on the head, it'll be fine. Okay, 1, 4, 5, 2, 3, 6, that's what we're dealing with. And I'm gonna shrink it up even more. The 6th chord is the chord that you'll use way more than the 2 or the 3. So my point to this is if you're learning a song and you find that there's a 1, 4, 5 in there, or a 1, 4, or 1, 5, or whatever, in the key of G, let's say, and you hear another chord that isn't one of those, and especially if you can learn to hear a minor chord, major sound versus minor. If you hear that it's minor, the first chord that you try with your ear is the 6th chord. All right? So let me show you this. Now I'm going to step outside the Christmas discussion for a second. Let's say it was doing this. Now that could be one of a billion songs. 1, 4, 5 in the key of G. I'm going to add an E minor in between and watch what happens. The 6th chord, E minor. Oh, where can my baby be? Right? There's a billion songs I could teach you that use the 1, 4, 5, and 6 chords. And think about that. How many times have you heard that kind of chord progression before? And again, a ton. Now again, I'm not saying that the 2 won't be in there or the 3 won't be in there. What I'm saying is just use laws of averages here. 1, 4, 5 is the first place to start. If you hear a chord that isn't the 1 or the 4 or the 5, or if you're talented enough in your ear to hear the sound of a minor, that dark sound, that sad sound, the first thing you try is a 6. Now, if it doesn't work, then you try a 2 or 3. And again, music can do whatever it wants. Sometimes music doesn't follow the rules. But I am telling you that most of the time, music follows the rules. And if you choose something, again, that we talked about before, something that's simple, sounds simple, a little bit slower, a little more pop in nature, right? Again, I don't mean, Kesha pop. I mean just pop music, regular music, right? Whether it's the Eagles, whether it's Bob Dylan, whether it's whatever, it doesn't matter what it is, okay? Ed Sheeran, I could throw out all kinds of things, but you know what I'm saying. Just anything that's kind of regular, that's going to use the stuff we're talking about because it's not going... that's something completely different, right? But you're not going to hear most regular style music doing that sort of thing. If I played the Eagles and it went, it's G, C, D, 1, 4, 5. Now again, it depends on the song. If I play Lion Eyes, right? It goes G major 7, which G major 7 is still G, but I'm just giving it to you so you can hear what that sounds like. Then it goes to C, 4 chord. Then it goes to A minor, which is the 2. And then it goes back to C, and then D, and then G. So that song uses 1, 4, 5, but it also uses the 2 chord. So again, my point is if you learn just a little bit of theory and learn to listen, I'm going to learn this chorus part because that sounds pretty straightforward, right? And you use your logic to figure that out. Now, with traditional songs like Christmas, you have to remember there isn't really a key. It can be in any key, right? But if you're learning how to play Knockin' on Heaven's Door by Bob Dylan, it's in a key, right? Because he wrote it in the key. So you have something to go by, right? Where if you just say, Santa Claus is coming to town or something, and you're learning it and your friend is learning it, and you're learning it from 2 different sources, you may very much wind up learning it different from each other. There's going to be a lot of overlap in terms of 1 or 4 or 5 or whatever, but the keys could be completely different, okay? So the last thing I want to explain to you, because I don't want to keep you here forever, is that when you're dealing with songs and learning by ear, and maybe you're learning something that isn't as traditional as what we're talking about, isn't as pop, again, I hate to use that word, but you know what I mean, standard, okay? Then what you can do is you can use the low-high, relative low-high kind of analysis that I like to teach people, which is using things like power chords. Like if you went on your 6th string and you started making power chords, if you know how to make a power chord, okay? And what I do then is if I take a song and I want to learn it, but I don't know that it's 1, 4, 5, or it doesn't sound 1, 4, 5 to me at all, okay? Then I can start using this. And what I'm doing is I'm using relative pitch. So what I do is I listen to whatever part of the song. Let's say it's the beginning of the song. So I hear da-da-da, I put the, start the song, and I hear da-da-da, so I stop it. Now I'm going to go to my guitar and I'm going to find da-da-da, da-da-da, right? And I'm going to keep looking around until I find that. I'm going to match what I'm hearing with what I'm playing. And so I don't want to listen to 5 minutes of the song. I don't want to listen to a whole section of the song. I just want to listen to that sound and zone in on that. Da-da-da, just hear that and absorb that sound and stop, Spotify or whatever it is you're using. You stop it and you just lock in. Da-da-da, and then you maybe, start it all over and try it. Does it match up? Does it match up? Okay. So let's say it does match up. Now, next thing you hear from da-na-na is da-na-na. Okay, well, did it go up or down? Da-na-na, da-na-na. You see, you want to be, that's relative pitch, right? You want to be able to hear that it went up or down. And it takes time to learn how to do this. Some people get it right away. Some people, it takes a little while. For me, da-na-na, da-na-na, it's going down. So I'm already here. So I know it's got to be down here somewhere. It's got to be one of those. Da-na-na, da-na-na. Okay, da-na-na, da-na-na. And I wouldn't normally be doing it with my voice. I'd be listening to a song, right? So I start matching that. That is a wonderful way to learn how to play by ear, especially if you learn a lot of rock music, because stuff moves around, right? Whatever it would be, or, Rainbow in the Dark on acoustic guitar, right? Right, whatever it would be, you start learning to hear things moving down or up. And if you use the 6th string and power chords, then what you can do is once you've kind of figured it out, maybe you start moving into bar chords or move it into open chords or whatever. But this is a great way of trying to learn how to play. If it's not fitting the 1, 4, 5-ish kind of thing, it's different. So now you start listening for things moving up and down. So hopefully that helps you a little bit. Ear training is absolutely crucial because with the power of learning how to play by ear, number one, obviously you don't need, materials like going on Ultimate Guitar or whatever. But for me, more importantly, is I can do it quickly. I can do that without a guitar. I can do that, driving in my vehicle. I can hear something and go, oh, okay, this is what it is. It's a 1, 5, whatever. I can hear that. The other thing that's really important for me is when I play, for whatever situation I'm in, where I'm getting together with other guitar players or other musicians or a choir or a symphony or a jazz band or whatever, and I'm going to play songs, I can very easily adjust to what's needed. If I'm going to be playing, Old Time Rock and Roll by Bob Seger, it doesn't matter what key it's in. I don't know. It doesn't. You don't even have to tell me ahead of time. I'll just go play with whoever, and if they say, "Hey, it's going to be in the key of B," all right, cool. So 1, 4, 5. So I can do that, right, in the key of B or the key of G or whatever it is you want me to do. So it's bigger than just not being able, not having to read something. There's a lot of other reasons why ear training is really great because it takes you less time to prep for something, and it makes it easier for you to engage with other players very quickly. So anyway, hopefully that helps you a little bit. I hope I didn't take too much of your time. I'm excited to talk to you about these other things as they come up. We've got picking speed and accuracy, we've got licks, and we've got soloing coming up. And we'll use some sort of way of utilizing that in our Christmas discussion, but we'll talk about it again from a real-world perspective, just like we're doing right now. So anyway, happy holidays. Christmas is coming soon, New Year's is coming soon, and this gives us a great opportunity to hang out and just play some music and talk about guitar. So I'll talk to you all soon, all right? If you have any questions, I should have mentioned this before, Derek is around here to answer your questions about anything, and make sure you check out that bundle. See if it's